Good evening. We'll call this CRA meeting to order on March 26, 2026. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Grunder,
Here.
Vice Chair Howell is absent. Member Miller,
Here.
Member Whites,
Here.
Member Bloodsworth.
Here.
And if you'll stand, I'll do the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father God, thank you for allowing us to meet today. Please give us the strength to make all the right decisions for the city of High Springs. Please keep our troops in your prayers and watch over them as they fight for this country. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we will do approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the CRA agenda.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And we'll do approval of the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 11, 2025.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. New business item 1. Present project incentive grant program for review and approval.
Hi. Thank you for allowing me to have a meeting today. I've been excited to bring you guys this. So, without further ado, after our last meeting in December, I was trying to think of how we could make some of the things that have been coming up possible. The shuttle, for instance, was what kind of was the catalyst to this incentive program. So by creating this, I feel like it's a broad net. I hope you feel the same way too, where maybe we can incentivize to get the redevelopment in our CRA to happen within our sunset, before we sunset. So this is a grant that I'm bringing forward. It's kind of hard to see up here, but you guys have all packets. So I just did a summary of the program. So basically, I'm introducing a program just to accelerate the transformation of our downtown. And this is to provide like a gap filling program, and the award would be up to $20,000. And we're looking for first of their kind projects or catalytic projects that help strengthen our unique downtown. So enhance walkability. We're looking at all those things. So within this, based off of our strategic plan, I kind of made it in line with that. So our core objectives, we're looking to. With this, I was hoping, the more the merrier. If projects that come forward meet all the criteria, awesome. But the requirement is that meet at least 3 of these criteria. So economic development, of course, is our major focus, and just broadening that non-residential tax base and providing new job opportunities for people. Visitor attraction, so amenities that help support visitors to our downtown, whether it's lodging, entertainment, specialized retail, anything that would draw people to downtown is what I was thinking would be beneficial. Mobility and accessibility is the third component. And that's just, so how can we better use our spaces? So if someone creates a parking lot, we could help with that. Pedestrian-friendly designs that help shuttle connectivity, things like that bring people to downtown and make it easy for them to move around. And then the fourth out of the 5 would be the service gap fulfillment. So is there something cool that we don't even have right now that we need in our downtown? This is where this would help maybe bring them in. And then also, we always want that private investment, right? That's the whole thing, is leveraging the CRA dollars to incentivize people to spend, in our town and set up their businesses. So with that, at least $3 of private investment to 1. So I kind of kept it broad because there might be cool things that I don't even know. Like we have all these things about to happen, I feel like, with possibility of the rail trail and just how our downtown is growing. There might be cool things that I don't even think of. Like I wasn't thinking of the shuttle, for instance. And this is just kind of a broad program to see how we can help people bring cool things that really help our downtown and also fill those empty buildings that are sitting there. This would go in with that. So eligible projects, some examples, of course, they're just examples. Someone might have something cool that wasn't even on my radar, which is exciting. But destination venture, so is there a new retail or dining or entertainment that brings that draw to our downtown? And then the adaptive reuse, so you change some old building, old structure that's just sitting there currently into something. So are you repurposing some underutilized commercial building, into something that we need? Strategic expansion, so not just you want to fix up your building, you want, that's what we have the facade grants and things like that for, but this is you're bringing new business into town or you're doing a major expansion of your business. That's where this would come into play too. And then also I think we would benefit from mixed use development, so I put that as an example because want to live, work, and play all in the same place and get the most out of our spaces. And so this is a program that I think, so this first set here, it's just basically the program overview, kind of what I've highlighted on, and you guys have the full documents. I also created an application. So it's just, basic application, but the main thing on this is, they have, of course, have to meet all the criteria, have to be in our CRA district, have to own the building or have approval from the owners of the building that you rent from, be up to date on all your stuff, our usual things that we have with our facade grant, but then also really the kicker for me, I put in there as a project narrative. So tell us what you want to do. So it's like a 1 page at least of defining the project. And I think we could get some really cool things out of this. The next thing on this series, I did do a checklist. I didn't provide it here because that's kind of our internal stuff to make sure that everybody has what they need. But then I did a component for you guys as well. So I did kind of like a scoring matrix where when these projects do come forward, of course they would come to me first. We would look over them, make sure they meet all the criteria, get a meeting on the boards, and then you guys would vote on them. But I did like a little sheet so that, you can feel really good about these projects and not feel bad if you have to turn one down because it didn't meet the what we're going for here. And so that it just aligns with what I set up the project as. So strategic alignment, does it go with our vision of downtown? Does it meet, our requirements that are laid out in our strategic plan and our goals for our downtown? And you get points for that. Is it catalytic? Is it the first of its kind, or does it stimulate other private investment? Is it helping with underutilized or vacant properties and making those where they're productive? And then the third score would be core objectives. Does it meet at least 3 of the 5 objectives? And they get points for that. And then the leverage aspect, with the 3-to-1 private investment, because ultimately that's what our job is with CRA, is to bring in that private investment. And then also the design and character, does it fit with what we want downtown and for our town? And then also project readiness, like, is it ready to roll out now, or are we looking years out? Because I think that the sooner we can use these funds, the better. I understand, construction takes time, but are they ready to go? Or if his project, if the shuttle project comes forward with this, how soon can it roll out, that kind of thing. So that gets points as well. Yeah, and I'm really excited. I wanted to bring this to you. I think it's something cool that we can actually put some of our TIF funding back into the district in a purposeful and meaningful way. And I'd like to know what you guys think.
I love it. I think it's great. I think any way we can, try to help motivate people to get an influx of money into the city, especially back into the CRA in our downtown, it's definitely worth exploring and trying to do everything we can to get it in there.
Chair Grunder, can I ask a question?
Yo, please.
So a question I have, would this help if somebody doesn't currently have a building, they're looking at a property, and say they want one of the buildings downtown and they want to open up something for kids? Like, would this help them if they wanted to open something that they don't currently actually own?
Yes, because it'd be first of its kind. It's not currently here, so it'd be bringing the business into downtown. And I feel like that would be a project that we'd be able to bring to the board and you guys could vote on.
Yeah, because I think that would be a good way of advertising it, because we have so many vacant buildings downtown.
Yeah.
And it's because of how expensive they are downtown. So I feel like if we advertise and we really honed in on, hey, you got a new idea that High Springs doesn't have, reach out to CRA. I think that's a good idea to go that route.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? Amy, on the can the project be completed within 12 months? That wouldn't be an actual constraint to the applicant if it couldn't. I mean,
It wouldn't.
You never know how long it's going to take materials to get a special order, whatever. That's not going to be an issue if it goes 14 months or 16 months, right?
No, it shouldn't, as long as I did it kind of a point basis. So if they don't meet that one, it's
Well, we
not
wouldn't
a
know.
be all end all. We're not going to really
And that's not going to
know.
be something anybody would be penalized for, right?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no.
One question that I had
Yeah.
about something like this, we had talked years ago, not necessarily in the CRA arena, but about business incubators, having some place where you had a business incubator spot where somebody could come try out a business to see if it would work.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be something that could be used for something like that?
I don't see why not.
You know,
I think
just
that would be
it
great if
would
someone
be-
wants
it'd
to
be a little
initiate
bit- but
that.
They wouldn't necessarily be the property owners. Let's say we had some space that was set up as a business incubator, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would be leasing it for a short period of time. Would that penalize them if they weren't the property owner, you know?
I don't think so, because as long as they have permission from the property owner in writing,
Yeah.
we can do that. We do that for facade grants, so.
It's a little bit less of a risk for somebody to open up a business not really knowing, but if they had a temporary 4 months, 5 months, whatever,
Yeah.
and saw that it was viable, that
Exactly.
could translate to maybe filling some of the vacant.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I saw where we talked about parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
So would it have to be like a special parking lot? Would they have to have like a water feature in the parking lot, or could they just do a regular?
That's up to you guys. I would bring it forth, and you could vote on whether it fit the aesthetics of what we're looking for. We probably just don't want just a parking lot, but if they're using part of their space to help the public and help us accommodate cars, I mean, I think that would. I kept it really broad because, I mean, there may be things, someone may have some really cool idea, and I think this is how we can help get it
And then
going.
is this a matching grant?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It is not. But that if you have to meet at least 3 of those five criteria, because I didn't want to just us giving out money and it not meeting the things that we need.
But it would be a maximum of $20,000.
Correct.
With the understanding that 3 times that would be spent privately.
Not always. That's just one of the 5 criteria. So that would be how you gauge it. So some people may not have the complete match. They may have a half match or partial. But I think if it meets what we're needing for our downtown, I feel good about putting CRA money into something that we need.
Would we have the ability to scale back that amount then, commensurate with what they were bringing in?
Yeah, and I did put in there that it is based on funding and based on projects, so it's up to your guys, it's up to the board's discretion, based on CRA recommendation.
There just seems to be a little bit of subjectivity in there, and I would be concerned about, these guys only have 40,000, but we can give them the 20. Well, do you though? I mean, how do we
Well, that's where your matrix comes into play.
objectively?
Yeah, that's exactly why I did the matrix. So
They
it's
would have
not,
to score at least.
you have to get at least a 70 out of the 100. So say you strategically align with us, you get 20 points. It's a catalytic, you get another 20. It meets our core objectives, you get another 20. Maybe they don't have the financial leverage, you don't get that point, but it does have the design and it's ready.
So then could we
So
set
they
up
would
an
still meet it.
approach of, let's say they met the 70 minimum recommendation that you've recommended here. Could we set up an approach then that the percentage of the $20,000 would be an aggregate percentage based on that score? I'm just trying to come up
Sure,
with a
I mean, this
really
is, yeah.
straightforward, no question kind of approach,
Yeah, I can put that element in there. I was trying to figure out, kind of pulling out from looking at other CRAs, what they have. I mean, a lot of them have a lot more money than we do, as we all know, but, and what would fit with us, and how we can facilitate some of these things and clear up some of these problems that we have, like the empty buildings, which are, gray zones, how we can best use our money to get the end result that we need. So we can put whatever language we need. I just was trying to figure out without putting us too much in a box, because I'm thinking there might be things that, like, I never saw that. I never thought of a shuttle until he had that idea, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then, researching it. So I'm sure there's other things that are going to be like that. But then I was also trying to think of, how can we help with all these old buildings? How can we help with, our businesses that are already there, or maybe someone that wants to come in, but it is expensive, So I was really a broad net, but I think we'll get cool results out of it. But yeah, we can definitely put that language in there where.
Just an idea, just to
Yeah,
take as
yeah,
much
to protect.
subjectivity out of it. I mean, everybody could come up with their own scores.
Yeah.
And then you average or whatever the aggregate would be,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's a math issue and not a preference issue.
Exactly. Yeah, I just didn't want it, where we say yes to someone because we like them, and
Sure, right.
and then the project flops. I want it to
Yeah.
be based on, at least we're putting some kind of, process in place.
Yeah, but even if they scored 100,
Mm-hmm.
but we felt like it was not a project we wanted to do,
That's
they
your
wouldn't get it. They wouldn't just automatically get it just because they scored.
Well, and I won't always bring. I mean, it's got to meet. If it's something we already have here, I don't know that it would meet it. Or if someone's idea that's why they'd go through us first to make sure that it aligns with our plan for downtown.
So, I don't know if this would be an appropriate place, if I may, Mr. Chair, to ask about other use of CRA funds. I looked through a table to try to understand how we can use them, because it's so specific,
Right.
But one of the things that I found on that table, and I was looking at this because of the conversation I had with Erica Hernandez for the Rails to Trails project. And of course, the city's going to be expected to come up with funding for that. That's no big surprise. We're going to have to find money somewhere, and we don't have a lot. So I was thinking that CRA funds might be something we could use that for. And in that table, there was something that specifically said, I wrote it down so I didn't, because I don't know this stuff. Financing to support cleanup of industrial brownfields in a distressed area as part of a city-sponsored revitalization program. The Rails to Trails, in my opinion, would be just a huge revitalization program, and the roundhouse that we own might fit that criteria.
Except for it's not in the CRA district.
It's not.
That's the bottom thing, is it has to be spent within the CRA district.
Is
We
any part of the Rails to Trails
Yes.
in part of the CRA district?
Yes, but I think it's only like 0.3 of a mile out of the 13.
So Kirsten, if we have to have buy-in money to bring some skin to that game, if there is a portion of the Rails to Trails that is in the CRA district, could we use CRA funding to match part of that?
It would depend on how specific we can be regarding those dollars for use in that area, and that would be very dependent on the agreement that we can strike. So we would only be able to use the money on that 0.3. So it's not even that we could just say, okay, it's 13 miles and 0.3 is X percentage of 13 miles. You don't want me to do that math right now, but we can't just say, okay, so then we'll use that and buy in for that. We have to make sure that the funds from CRA would be used in that 0.3 miles. So if we can guarantee that will happen, we could. I'm not sure that we can guarantee that would happen, so that would be what it would hinge on.
So with the CRA expansion that we're waiting still on for, I don't know, a couple years now, right? Would it fall within the expanded map? Would
It
the
runs
roundhouse fall?
along it, but I'm not sure if it takes the actual trail. I don't think it's the actual trail. It's
The roundhouse
it's around
does
27.
not- Yeah, yeah.
No, it's just down 27, and it captures a little bit on each side.
But it also went out to the old peanut mill too, right?
It would capture that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and clean that up, because that's the one space that's not in it, which is
Yeah.
kind of.
Mr. Chair,
But
are you
Yes, sir.
and I have talked about the mapping and the planning part and expansion. What is the process of us expanding that? I see you have on one of the pages here, the green expansion area, possibly.
you're looking at the annual report. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you're getting into that? My bad. I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun
No,
here.
it's okay.
Because I know you and I have talked about that. I
Yeah.
just want to get a little more detail on it. But
Yeah.
going back to the scoring issue here, on number 4 there, the leverage, the financial leverage, you're talking about 3 to 1. Is that just something you think is good to go with, or can we just stick with the 50-50 so it's straight across the board, even for everybody? Because you don't want one business saying, well, I know he's got the money, and you're giving him more than I'm getting for a project. I mean, how are we going to make this even that we know everybody's going to be happy and satisfied?
We could, if you'd like. I was looking at Kissimmee's, what they have, and they had that 3 to 1, and it sounded good to me, because that's what we want really, is to bring that private investment in. But if you feel more comfortable, I mean, I just want to roll the program out. So however you guys feel best suits, we could do a 50-50 match too. I was just putting that as a component, but not as a needed. But if you want it where they have to do a equal match, we could do that too. But then that wouldn't work for like the incubator idea or things like that, unless they had that actual match. But
Yeah,
that's-
and me personally, I think the way that the 3 to 1 match is quite better, because like I said, the challenge that we're having in downtown is that the buildings are too expensive. We're having where people just can't start new startups downtown because of that area. So putting a 50-50 match, you're going to kind of lose half of the crowd that's interested in this particular grant if we do that. So
Okay.
I feel like if we put too much constraints on them, it's going to be no purpose of us even having the grant.
But there may be someone who comes in, which we've seen with some of these renovations that are happening, and he's a prime example here. And John, they put so much money into serendipity before we even came into play. So they've well exceeded that line item, and several other businesses have as well. So,
Yeah, I think we will get some people, but when you think about High Springs and we're talking about core values and core objectives, a lot of people want mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
They don't have $2 million to put into a building, and we thank you because it's beautiful. But most people don't have that much money to invest in that building, and if we start putting those constraints on people to have to put all that into a building, we're gonna lose.
We're gonna be
people
in the
that
same
High Springs
situation.
wants. They
Yeah.
want. That's what they want.
yeah,
And the way you've written it, though, we don't have to have you don't have to have a match
correct.
at all. It just
Correct.
is
It's part of the
it
matrix,
could
but
add to a checkbox that could get them in the door.
Yes.
If they had that ability. Okay.
Now, if you all feel more comfortable, you could change number 4 and 2 you know, by the point scale, if that would make y'all feel comfortable, make financial leverage 20 and make catalyst impact 15, if that's gonna make you all more comfortable.
No, it was just a thought. I just don't want one individual saying somebody's got more than the other, and he say, she say, he say, all that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I was just trying to have it straight across the board, this is where it's gonna be. But if y'all think that's gonna work, that's fine.
And we're giving out the whole 20, or we're not breaking it up, right?
It depends on the project. We would see what they would need.
Okay.
But it can go up
It
to
can go
20.
Up to 20.
Correct. As far as the rail trail, though, Catherine, we can leverage our funds. This can help our rail, and then also we can put in the wayfinding. There's other ways that the CRA can help when and if the trail happens.
You know, Eric and I were talking about the funding that they're anticipating we're going to need, and we don't have it. And, you know, is it worth it to promise 3 years of Wild Spaces money? Then we couldn't do anything else with that. I would hate to pledge all of that money to one project, because then you don't have it available for others. So I was just trying to find other options where we might have funding that might be able to.
Yeah.
Is your office in the CRA district? And
Yes.
The yellow is the
Yes.
outreach in the CRA district?
Mhm.
Okay, because one of the
Yeah.
other things I found was in-kind donation to a food pantry that provides services to unemployed and low to moderate income families. So I just wonder if that's something we could do as a
Well,
CRA.
you have to be really careful because there is a provision with what you do for nonprofits, because ultimately the goal of CRA money is to enhance economic development, right? So
So that would not be an appropriate use?
they tell you be very, very careful when you're helping nonprofits or doing things with nonprofits, because ultimately our goal is to make money downtown and to have a successful, thriving downtown.
Okay. Would it be possible for me to get it? I don't know if I was looking at the right table. Would it be possible for you to send Jeremy, or if I could just get a link to what the allowable uses table is?
Okay,
It
I've
was-
never seen
there
a
was a
table, but
it's a
I've
19-page
read the
table.
statute and
And it was a ton of different stuff.
yeah.
And I'm
Jeremy, do
just-
you know the table?
Well, it was like 19 pages, and it was broken out in all kinds of different ways, and I'm just trying to learn a little bit better. One of the things that they had was an investment in a local municipal bond to improve citywide water wastewater systems with benefit to all residents, including low to moderate income residents. If there were water system upgrades we could do within the CRA district that need to be done, that'd be amazing. But, I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right stuff.
No, that is a use, but you have to make sure there's all these kind of criteria. So it can't be on the city's CIP, what they're going to do with their money for that. It has to be off of any kind of a list that the city was already going to do for, like, I think 3 to 5 years. That's
So
where
that's possible then.
So it is possible for if there was something within the
Within the
district, or
district.
if you're doing a project and you're opening up everything, you can fix it while you're in there. But
Okay.
that kind of,
Yeah, that would be incredible if we could do some water distribution upgrades within the CRA district. So that is, and it also said something about building a police station in a distressed area. Is our police station in the CRA district?
yes. Yes, but there's other provisions too where you can't spend it on city funds. So it's city buildings and things.
Can't spend it on city buildings?
Yes.
How is a police
Because-
station not a city-owned building, though?
It is.
It is, so that's why you
Can't
couldn't.
use it on city-owned buildings.
Right, so
It is
why would
here,
they
but
say?
sometimes some municipalities may have an outside police force that
Oh,
has, so
okay.
they can contract out for police services.
Yeah.
I'm just looking.
Get creative.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have any other commissioner questions or comments? Do we want to entertain a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the grant program.
I'll second that, but just with the proviso that we maybe massage the scoring a little bit.
Okay.
Just in accordance with the conversations we've had up here. I think it's a great idea.
Cool.
Do you, I don't know, do you want us to administratively fix the scoring system, or do you want it to come back in front of the CRA board?
I mean, I don't know what the rest of the board feels, but I mean, I think we've had enough of a discussion that you guys could interpret
I think we can fix it
the
administratively.
the intent,
I
right?
agree with that.
Cool.
We don't need to talk about
Okay,
it.
so
Yeah, I think y'all can do it.
Yeah.
looking at our numbers, would we want to take on 2 projects or 3? We have money for for up to 3 projects,
You
so
mean
that would
per
be
year?
60,000 per year. Or are we looking more at 40?
Well, do we want to vote on this first?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And Mayor Miller, you're okay with that provision being added to your motion?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, depending on what is it. So are we changing the table or we're changing the 1 to 3?
No, you're changing.
We're changing the score.
scoring matrix
Okay.
table.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Boom.
Now I ask you a question.
Okay. So would you guys like us to look at possibility of 2 projects a year or 3? So that would be 40,000 or 60,000. And I do have where there are several line items we can take it out of. We have improvements other than building that we haven't ever really touched, and we had 98,000 in there. So that would more than cover
I'd say we
the
leave it
60.
open for up to 3, and
Up to 3?
if we need to, pivot on that later, let's do it, but I don't think we should handcuff ourselves now.
Okay, cool.
Is that all right with y'all?
So there's 98 available in the fund that you're
That I was looking at, but there's another
Okay.
one for 50 that we haven't touched either that
So you've
possibly.
got enough to
Yeah,
cover
to
3,
cover
right?
several things, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to start spending this money.
Okay, we will move on to present the CRA annual report for fiscal year 2025.
All right, so I'm just going to do like a few little highlights of where kind of our attention and money went this fiscal year. So per Florida statute 163.373, community redevelopment agencies are required to file an annual report. So this is just what we have to do every year. So I like to bring it to you guys before we release it. It has to be posted by March 31st on our website, and also with the county. We have to send it to them as well. So I like you guys to see it first. Sorry, I covered my stuff up here. So with our annual report, we did several things. So I just kind of highlight on what we do, but I'm just going to do the accomplishments and goals basically. So with our commercial facade grant, in fiscal year 2025, we had 4 facade grant awards. And the total commercial investment in the district for just these projects, I mean, I'm sure other investment was going on throughout, but what we were involved with these grants, there was $79,679.49 in the private sector and commercial investment, and our grant match was $31,857.28. And I think it's money well spent. The first one, we had Springs Building LLC. Our last report, they were in progress. This they finished up, so they got the award this year. They replaced the old broken windows, got a new door, and the big one was that awning as well. Just really cleaned up the building, made it where it's going to be here for many, many years and look great. The total cost for the project was $21,633.67, and our grant match was the full award of $10,000. Before and after, so Two Fingers Property, AKA Decades. With this one, they did the same thing. They removed the old awning, repaired the building, and fabricated and installed the new awning. Total project cost $33,145, and then we had our match of $10,000. While this was going on, Decades on Main got a sign from us as well, so they had a finished product of everything, fabrication and installation of their signage, and with that, their total project cost was $3,714.55, and we had our award of $1,857.28, which was the 50-50 match. And serendipity, we came in a little late on this one. They had already been working on it for several years before I think they realized all the things we had because we were rolling them out. But we did get in on the last bit. So we, for custom signage, their total cost was $21,186.27. So we did the full award of $10,000 for that. And I think it's amazing. And next, we rolled out the residential. We rolled this out at the end of the last fiscal year. So these are the first recipients of the new program. And we had three grant awards for that. The total investment of residential from the private sector was $21,562.54. And our CRA match was $9,281.27. The first one that came through was for the replacement of 2 of the front windows to help with the weatherization, and then they just got a new coat of paint on the house and the trim. So it'll be here for many, many years for this lovely couple. And their project cost was $4,944. So our 50-50 match was $2,472. Our second recipient, they got a new roof on their home within the district, and the quote, it cost $13,000 for that one, and they got the full residential award of $5,000. And then our third award went to this home. They their project cost, they got new doors and new door jambs, so that and thresholds, and that all goes, to help with that weatherization aspect again, and also keep these homes in the district and with in their families as well. So the project cost for that was $3,618.54, and our 50-50 match was $1,809.27. We also spent money on our beautification. We teamed up with the High Springs Garden Club and redid the planters last year. So for fiscal year 2025. So that's where some of the money went to help with the downtown aesthetic, and it was nice to have the ladies with the garden club. And you were there too. I put you in my report too. You'll see your little picture in there. And we also spent money on a capital improvement project. So you guys gave me authorization where we could go ahead and start looking at where we can fix some of the parking issues, fix some of the issues that we have downtown. So our main focus when we first started, I had given we worked with GAI Consulting, and we're still working with them. We're about to have something to roll out to you. I just spoke with him earlier this week, and we should have that in the next 2 weeks. It'll be about 90% ready. So I'll get your votes on that. We'll bring that forward to you to redo Northwest 237th Street. When we first started, we were looking at the water tower property. And then when we had our parking study meeting with the downtown businesses, private investment, there was an interest in private investment. So I brought that to the executive director, and we've been looking to see if that's a feasible option. And then he directed me to go ahead and work on another area, which was at Northwest 237th Street. So that's where some more of our funding went. We also helped to support and the farmers market. And she's doing a great job. I feel like we're getting more produce in there. She's really starting to curate it. And then also we had policing initiatives that you guys know. You voted on all that with our interlocal agreement, and the purchase of an e-bike before Christmas of 2024. The next is kind of a breakdown of what I've just gone over, where the money was spent, and then, you know, the stuff that we have to include. So our total budget, the original assessed value of when we were established, and then also the property values throughout time of where that TIF funding comes. And then looking forward, so normally, this is my third year doing this report. The first 2 years I was kind of looking to the next year, but this year I've kind of opened it up where we're looking to next year and beyond. I think we need to start looking towards our sunset date to make sure that we're meeting all the things that we want to accomplish while we have the CRA downtown. And it's just basically following that strategic plan, because that's our blueprint, and making cool things happen. So that's my report this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Do we have any commissioner comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to know, what is our sunset date? Do we know?
2031
Okay,
is the
so we've got
current.
some time.
Unless we got the expansion area, then we could move there. Like, the whole thing with CRAs is you do your job, and if you've done a good enough job, when you sunset, you get to move on, right? So that's why the expansion area is so important, because I feel like there is still a need in other places. But
So could that push the sunset date back?
it could, or maybe, I don't know how the county would want to do it. They might just look at that new area, and that's where our new one goes. It's all dependent on our relationship with the county and what they allow us to do.
Mr. Chair. Now we get to the expanded
Now your
area.
map.
Yeah. What is the process that we can do far as moving? I see you have the green expansion area. I don't know if you can have that map up. Can you put that map up there on the screen?
I don't have that map up there. No.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry, I didn't include it in the process.
What I'm wondering about, the green is potentially going west down to Old 9th Street down there. What about moving it forward down Railroad Avenue east? Because there's some churches down there that's been there, that's on a historical society, been there quite some time, and then even expanding it down Main Street south because of some older buildings that's been here for years and years. We're kind of limiting, is it just strictly supposed to be downtown, or what is the process of actually expanding the whole thing out some?
Yeah, so anytime you do an expansion, you have to do a finding of necessity. So you have to pay to have a finding of necessity or have it written up, and then you bring that to the county to make sure that they are in alignment with it, and then they either gave you the yay or nay. I know at one point several have been done to expand in the areas that you're saying, and at that time they didn't go through. Maybe they would now.
Do you have any idea what kind of criteria has to be met to do that?
Well, economic development is a big thing. So you want to make sure that there's businesses along that area. So a lot, when you get into the neighborhoods, it's a little trickier. From my perspective, I don't know. I mean, maybe we can research it and see, but yeah, you'd have to pay for a whole new finding of necessity.
Because there's quite a bit of residential area here at Main and First Avenue that has a lot of residential homes, but I understand it has to incorporate Main Street, but even be east of here, that's still residential neighborhood. And some of those homes I know are some people that used to live in there many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So is that something the CRA can use funds to do the study, or does that have to
We can
come
do
out
another
of-
study. This study was done in 2021, so I wasn't in this position when they went for this expansion area. But yeah, once again, it's funding, but I would like to get approved for what we've already paid for. I hate spending money on something that just sits on a shelf, and doesn't actually get approved. But yeah, anytime, I mean, the main purpose of CRAs, right, is to clean up slum and blight, and make things safer. And so if we could show those areas, that would be something that we could, do another finding a necessity for. But I would hate to do one when you already have one that we've paid for, where we're just waiting on audits.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm always, let's keep going. I want to help everybody.
Mr. Chair, if I could, this green area, we've had that there for a couple years.
They did this in 2021.
It's been a long time, so it's
Yes,
not an
that's 5
audit
years
thing.
ago.
Why is the county not approving that? Do you have any sense?
So
Our audit.
From 2021?
But they're not gonna do any expansion until we're current on the audit.
Till we're current on the audits. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The only question I had, I know I brought it up last CRA meeting, and I would like for it to go on the next CRA agenda, is to talk about the executive director position of the CRA. I feel like right now, with all that's going on with the city, it would be best to give that to somebody that has time to solely focus on that, because we have a lot of stuff going on, and I feel like we put Amy through the classes, we put her through all the work. Give the girl what she needs so she can do her job.
Well, Mr. Chair, the only concern I'd have there is then who's got her back? She's out there flying solo, and I don't like anybody being out there alone.
We have directors of every department.
But they've got people to help.
He's still gonna be her boss.
No, not in the CRA.
So,
I would hate for you to be by yourself. Not that I'm not questioning the ability by any means, but who's going to help her? That would concern me. I mean, is there somebody else available that could help in some other way? Can you structure it so that you would have somebody to help you? I don't know.
yeah, like I said, in my opinion, I just think that we have so many other pressing issues, and so him trying to maintain CRA, maintaining finances, maintaining public works, maintaining all these other departments, it'll be necessary to let somebody be able to maintain it without, you just asked the question about tables, and neither one could answer that question, because right now he doesn't have time to read that many tables about CRA when we don't have a finance director. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if Amy had, there's no reason that she's reading the tables, because that's the executive director. He should know that.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with you there, but, could we find somebody else in the city, and this is a question for Jeremy, that could help support Amy? I still just don't like the idea that she wouldn't have anybody backing her up. That would worry me for you. Is there anybody else, Mr. Marshall, I know you've done a lot of the classes, but is there somebody else that you would think could partner with Amy in some regard to at least help her?
Not without hiring somebody.
That may not be something we need to answer tonight, but,
I'll set something up with Amy next week, and we'll talk about
Okay.
it.
okay.
But I'd also touch on that everything we ask him, he's not gonna have an answer tonight. Can't have it all unless you talk to him previously where he can research it, have time to research it, and then come back and give us an answer. He's not gonna have all the answers. So with him not having those tables, I give him the grace, at least give him opportunity to do some research and bring that back forward to us, or contact us and let us know.
I'm not giving him no grace. I'm not saying it's not an argument of whether he's doing great at CRA or not. It's just more so the timing. He has a lot on his plate.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And Amy did answer some of the questions about the tables. So she did know some.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the Florida Redevelopment Academy, there aren't I've never seen like an exact
I was
table
gonna say, if I
'cause
would have
it's
saw any
an
tables, it would have
idea.
been in our one-on-one or 101 class. I didn't see any tables.
Yeah, it's more of, I mean, that might be someone's interpretation or their city's interpretation of but really it goes down to you have to look at the statute and see what you're allowable, and consult with your attorneys and make sure that it's in line. But
I'll find the statute and I'll start reading.
oh yeah, it's on your thing though.
Okay, thank you.
163.371.
But I still would like to see that on the agenda, just because of the fact when I was first sitting as chair of CRA, that was pretty much the goal. We said we were putting her in training in the meantime to do that. So I would still like it on the next CRA agenda to at least discuss it.
Okay, I guess we will move on to
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
chair report. I don't have one. I think you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
So we'll move on to staff report.
So yeah, just these and that program. I think that'll be cool. We got a lot of cool things happening. I'd love to get you guys some training. I have maybe where we can bring up a consultant so we're not paying for, it's hard to get people away. I spoke with Jeremy about it. He thought that it would be, or sorry, Mr. Marshall, that it would be good, and the price is a lot lower. So just kind of a one-on-one crash course. If you guys are interested in that, I can arrange that. Just let me know. And yeah, I feel like we've got a lot of cool things in the pipeline. So yeah, that's mine.
Awesome. Thank you. Do we have any announcements? I don't have any. Perfect. And we'll open it up to any public comments in regard to the CRA. It appears we have none. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn the CRA meeting.
So moved. 2026 at 6:30 p.m. We're going to have a roll call, please.
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth,
Here.
Commissioner Grunder,
Here.
Commissioner Howell,
Here.
Commissioner Whites.
Here.
We're going to have invocation and pledge by Vice Mayor Bloodsworth.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord, and I just thank you for this blessing of being in this town, Lord. Father, just thank you for everything you do for us. Lord, I ask that you be with our first responders, Lord. Just protect them, Lord. Guide them to do their job the best they can. Father, keep them protected. Protect our military at this time, Lord, and just be with the families of all those men and women, Lord, that are overseas protecting our country and protecting us, Lord. Lord, I ask that you guide us to do the will of the citizens of High Springs. Lord, give us the wisdom and the direction to do what we need to do to make this town better, Lord. For it's in his name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to have approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Approval of the consent agenda from minutes of the March 12th, 2026 commission meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for March 12th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. We have no special presentations on tonight or unfinished business. Citizen requests and comments for issues not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Please limit all comments to 5 minutes.
Linch. Mr. Marshall, I'd like to thank you for deciding not to sell the Scout Hut.
Postponed it.
Huh?
I postponed it. I'm not saying we're not gonna sell it. Postponed that.
For a year?
I don't know how long. Could be 6 months, could be 6 years. I don't know. But as of now, we're not gonna sell it.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes, sir.
I urge the city manager and the commissioners to think about our beautiful concrete streets and don't pave over our beautiful concrete streets. High Springs Brewing, promoting a product that kills 7,000 people each day using the High Springs name. I urge the city manager and the commissioners not to do away with the police department or the fire department. This would be a type of social degeneration, a type of the deterioration of the social fabric. If we can't police ourselves, if we can't provide fire protection, we might as well dissolve the city.
All right.
Hi, Kelly Potter. So 2 things. Bringing to our attention that there is an even consideration because of budgetary issues to possibly even consider getting rid of fire and police. I understand that there might be some financial constraints, but I do just implore that we get those looked into, because getting rid of our police and fire don't really feel is a proper option for our town. We had an infant who was choking at my restaurant. Our amazing fire department came in less than 2 minutes. Human can only go 3 to 7 minutes without oxygen before there's permanent brain damage. That could have been a very sad story if we had to rely on services that were farther away. So I really hope for the townspeople and that we are such a thriving community that you really take into consideration the well-being of the town members. Also, I understand there might be operational reasons to consider contracting with county. It's my understanding that you've possibly already talked to the sheriff's department, and I realize they would gladly take you on. But what are we considering doing with the rest of our department? I'm hoping that there are considerations for them, because they know the townspeople. They are the townspeople. And if we can't take care of our own people, what are we doing? And I love how you said that, because that's a big part of it. So it really needs to be looked at and dug into. Contracting will cost money. It's not a freebie. Catherine, I see you were like digging for dollars when you're looking at the CRA and like, can we get money from this to put towards this? When she was talking about it, and you're looking at being creative, but that's not the answer. The answer is you need to look at what's already there, where things maybe got misappropriated, maybe where things can be saved, but our fire and our police are not where it needs to be cut. So I just implore that you look at our town as a whole. We are a growing community. We're only going to continue growing, whether people like it or not, whether the old guard wants to hear that our town's growing, it is. The builders have come. They've already bought up all the property down 441. There will be homes there. You need to work on the density. We need to work on having structures in place that can control that. But behind that more so is our fire and our police, because they are the most important people for our town. And I really hope you guys take that in consideration. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Gary Boothby. I spent the majority of my life in uniform, 40 years. I did 22 years at the Sheriff's Office in Alachua County. I just recently retired from the federal side. And I can tell you, with the support that you have here, it's just the start of it. We went through this in Newberry, okay? This is not I just moved here, me and my wife. We're empty nesters. And I didn't have a fight in it a month ago, but now that we're residents here, I want to see safety in our community. And we went through this in Newberry, where they were talking about, maybe getting rid of the school resource officers, or having another entity come in and patrol. But I'm going to tell you right now, this chief and this chief knows that without them, all the plans that y'all are having for, this and that and the other things, you got to have somebody there that's going to keep them safe. You got to have a community that's going to have people safe at any given time. And I worked a zone when I was a young deputy, the entire city of Hawthorne by one deputy, okay? And our growth has astronomically taken, I didn't even know my neighborhood existed when we moved out here. Growth is happening. It's happening in Newberry. It's going to happen here. But when you take a department out of a city, I challenge any of y'all to go ride through Waldo. Go through that town at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and see what's taking place in their communities that used to be safe, that aren't safe anymore. Drugs, crime, it's horrible. And they took away their city police department. And I'm telling you now, as a 40-year veteran in a uniform, the last thing y'all want to do is take away your city and your fire department. There's deputies and there's officers and there's firefighters that would go out and do this job for free, but you can't. It's in their heart. They would do it for free. But they have to maintain their family. They have to survive too, just like everybody here on the dais. I can't tell you as much as I can see it, because I've been there. I went through this. I went through the annexations in Butler Plaza. I saw all that. It's not good when you take away something that's working, because bad things happen. And I'm just telling you that from experience. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I don't even know why we're having this conversation, but my name is Michaela. I'm a resident of High Springs, Florida, and have been for 20 years. And when I first heard of the budget decrease for the fire and police department, it broke my heart. From what I've been able to find in 2025 alone, there were over 1,400 life-threatening situations that High Springs and fire and police department responded to. That doesn't include countless other calls that they show up for every single day. These aren't just numbers. They're people, real emergencies, real lives. I know this because I've experienced it. In 2024, my boyfriend and I were in a severe car accident on 441. The very few minutes it took to get myself out of the car and come out of the ditch, fire and police department were there already. They knew exactly how to calm me down and assure me that I was okay in a moment that I couldn't even think or breathe. That level of care doesn't come from strangers. It comes from a community. To whoever came up with this absurd idea of budget cuts or dissolving them clearly doesn't care about. When you defund and reduce these departments, you're not just cutting a budget, you're decreasing response times and putting lives in critical condition. You're taking away connection, trust, and the people who show up on the worst day of your life and make it survivable. In a small town like ours, seconds matter. I'm here today because they were there for me, not just as responders, but as people who care. And I'll be honest, this idea is dangerous because when you take support away from people who protect and respond to emergencies, you're putting lives at risk. Plus, we already voted to raise the mill rate for the police and fire department, yet people were still fired and now you're considering dissolving them. The people already voted, the people already spoke. Do you really want to do that to this community?
Good evening. I'm Jessica Witten. I have been a resident for probably 13 years or so. I just want to say that I personally know the majority of the cops in this town and the majority of the fire department in this town, as well as all of our children do. Our children can look on the street corner when they're crossing the street in the morning and wave if there's an officer sitting on the other side of the street, or a fire department that shows up at their school functions. You hear them working right now for us. The response time that it's going to take for Fort White Fire or Alachua Fire to get out here, even in the rural areas of High Springs, is not going to be enough. And I fully support on backing our LEOs and our fire department. Thank you.
All right, any commissioner responses? All right, new business item number 1, discuss, consider, and act on first amendment and extension to solid waste agreement.
Yeah, I got it. So, Mr. Mayor, this is your Waste Pro contract. Let me pull it up real quick. So this is your Waste Pro contract. It's been all the back and forth with it, and all the edits have been done and approved by the attorney. So that's what you got.
I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. You'll note that the only amendments are as outlined. They show up on page 2 of the addendum, so that you can see the strikeouts and then the underlines. Same thing as an ordinance. We just struck out anything we're deleting and underlined anything we're adding. So we changed the term from 3 to 5-year term. And then we implemented the CPI pause that was discussed at the meeting until October 1st, 2027. So I'm happy to answer any questions from there, but those are the only amendments to your agreement.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, please. So Kirsten, I just want to clarify, all of the prices that are in this contract are the same that we are being charged right now. There's been no changes.
Yes.
So both the residential and the commercial will be raised by CPI in 2027.
Yes,
And then 3 out of the 5 years total for the contract.
that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the addendum and extension to the solid waste agreement.
Second.
All right, any citizen comments?
A couple of things I have questions on. Currently, we know that the Waste Pro are under this current contract, and the one that we're renewing basically is charging $24.50 a month per household. Per the contract, this will be a price that Waste Pro will charge us until October 1st of 2027, at which time we know that based upon the contract that it's going to go up with this because of the CPI. Currently, the city charges residents $30.75 a month, which means that the difference of $6.25 a month per household goes to the city. And I believe in a previous commission meeting it was mentioned that we're about 1,800 households out there. I'm not sure if that's absolutely accurate, but based upon that, that means that there is about approximately $135,000 going to the city in a year. I'd like to understand that this money, the $650 per month, what those administrative costs are. I mean, my assumption is that $650 is to cover administrative costs. What makes up those administrative costs? Does it cover anything other than administrative costs? How is that money used? I'd like to see a breakdown of that if possible. And then on the commercial rates, it appears that they're staying the same, as I understand that's correct. I'd like to know, under the contract, under section 3.7, it states that there shall be, or we shall herein refer to the service provided to business establishments, churches, schools, multiple dwelling units, unless the multiple dwelling unit receives residential collection service, office buildings, industrial facilities, and other commercial establishments. How is it decided if a multiple dwelling unit is in fact a residential unit? We have some multiple dwelling units that the individuals are being charged $30.75, yet they are receiving, there's a dumpster where they have to take their garbage and put it in there. And according to the contract, the Waste Pro for an an 8-yard dumpster is charging $311. Yet, for 18 units at $30.75, that's like $500 and some odd dollars. So there is a difference there of $17.32 per unit that these people are paying more than what Waste Pro appears to be charging the city. And I'm not so sure that's really fair. I think that needs to be looked into to see how that is done and how that is determined that this multiple dwelling unit is considered residential. Okay. Thank you.
All right, any commissioner comments? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, new business item number 2, discuss, consider, and act on resolution number 2026-H.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2026-8, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, approving that certain agreement between the city and Tetra Tech, Inc. for disaster debris monitoring services, making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said agreement, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. So again, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this, but these are the agreements. You'll see that there's 4 of them on your agenda for tonight. So 2 are going to be for disaster debris monitoring services, and then 2 are for disaster debris removal, reduction, and disposal services. Those sound similar. They are not the same thing. The Tetra Tech is the top bid, so that's our primary in the first category, disaster debris monitoring services. The following one that you'll see, Thompson Consulting Services, which is your next resolution, is your secondary, and then it'll be the same in category 2. We have a primary and a secondary, so a sort of fallback. Again, happy to answer any questions regarding these. These are fairly standard agreements between counties and municipalities and these companies. So there's not a whole lot of deviation between this and what you would see in any other municipality or county.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask a question. So this is similar to how we had all the debris removal done. We were piggybacking with the county.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we accept resolution number 2026-H.
Second.
Any citizen comments? All right, this is a resolution. Roll call vote.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites.
Yes.
All right, new business item number 3, discuss, consider, and act on resolution number 2026-I.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2026-I, resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, approving that certain agreement between the city and Thompson Consulting Services, LLC, for disaster debris monitoring services, making certain findings of fact in support of the city, approving said agreement, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Just like the last one, this is your secondary in the disaster debris monitoring category.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question, please? In these contracts, Kirsten, the COIs, some of them expire at the beginning of the fiscal year. Will they be sending new COIs?
I anticipate that they will, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2026-I.
Second.
Citizen comments? This is a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yep.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. All right, new business item number 4, discuss, consider, and act on resolution number 2026-J.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2026-J, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, approving that certain agreement between the city and Ceres Environmental Services, Inc. for debris removal, reduction, and disposal services, making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said agreement, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. So this is your primary in the disaster debris removal, reduction, and disposal services category.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2026-J.
Second.
Any citizen comments? This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth.
Yes.
All right. New business item number 5, discuss, consider, and act on resolution number 2026-K.
Mr. Mayor, this is resolution number 2026-K, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, approving that certain agreement between the city and Crowder Gulf Joint Venture, Inc. for debris removal, reduction, and disposal services, making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said agreement, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Again, this is your secondary in that disaster debris removal, reduction, and disposal services category.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept resolution number 2026-K.
Second.
Citizen comments? This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder.
Yes.
All right. New business item number 6, discuss on the water tower property.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is a project that we wanted to bring before you all before we go any deeper into it so that we don't spend a whole lot of time, effort, and energy on something that you all have no interest in. I'm sure that you've read the agenda item generally. So as you know, the Gavits are interested in purchasing the city-owned property, which is next door to the watershed. The property currently has, it's 2 parcels, and then there's a right-of-way between them. So you see on your map, the 2 parcels are highlighted in red and outlined, and then the right-of-way between them has city utility lines in the parcel. So the water tower in the waterworks building, as well as an existing well, is the property that is on the left of your map, and then to the right of your map is the property that has sinkhole. So they're interested in the property as a whole. So if you look at the right-hand corner of that right-hand parcel all the way to the left-hand corner of the left-hand parcel, that's what they're looking to purchase. So that includes the right-of-way between them. If we move forward with it, we'll have to close the existing right-of-way. We'll have to deed it to both parcels so that it'll be city-owned once we close it, because we own both parcels on either side. So when we close right-of-ways, we deed half to the property on the right, half to the property on the left. As it turns out, we're both of those people. So it'll be super easy for us to do. Then we have to survey the property in order to get a new legal description of what this new sort of conglomerate parcel will be. And then we are going to follow the city's procedures for a competitive process of selling the property. So we can't just say, hey, we'll sell it to you for X. We'll follow all the procedures for that, the creation of the deeds, etc. Another thing to note is that it is currently zoned R2. So if there is an intent by whomever purchased it, it might not be the Gavits, they're just the individuals who sort of started this process. It will have to be rezoned to commercial if they are going to use it for commercial purposes. So that's just something to think about as well.
Do we know the market value of this property?
We do not. Not right now. We would certainly get that information. It would be part of our process to make sure that we're getting at least market value. But the first thing we would need is a survey in order to sort of see what the meets and bounds and the total area, et cetera. And that'll give us a better sense for someone to value it.
Okay, and tonight vote is basically moving forward on whether or not we want to sell it or not, but not necessarily to the people that are interested.
Correct. The request tonight is we wanted to give you sort of the idea of this project. Now, I do want to make clear, because I didn't say it before, but I think it goes without saying, we will retain the water tower, because we will need that. So we won't be giving that away. So it'll have to carve out that piece as well, which is also another reason for the survey. But tonight's request is sort of just, if you have no interest in doing this whatsoever, then we will stop moving forward and looking into it, and that'll be that. If you do have interest, we'll come back to you with things like cost for surveying and what this is actually going to look like time-wise, but we didn't want to sort of keep dumping effort into it if you guys are like, no thanks.
Do we know how much we pay in property taxes on this building currently?
Give me a couple minutes, I'll look it up.
Do we know how long this building has been inactive? I know since I've been a little boy, but yeah.
I don't personally know the answer to that.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question? You said there's an existing well on the property. What is the use for that well, and would it be abandoned as part of this transaction if it were to happen?
So I think that the well is associated with the water tower. So it's like associated with that same property that we would be keeping. I don't think that it's off to the side. And I'd have to look exactly where it falls. I don't know what it's currently being used for. We can certainly look into whether or not it would need to be abandoned.
I assume it's not a potable water supply well at this point. Our well field is up on 441, but in terms of access to that well, if we didn't abandon it, and access to the water tower, from a Department of Homeland Security perspective, what would we need to do? What kind of cost would we need to incur to secure that part of the property? That could be costly too.
Yeah, so we will definitely, that will be something that is definitely on our radar to look at, because there are requirements for fencing and the height of that, and obviously access. Now, the good news is there should be enough frontage on the road there for us to get access sort of directly instead of through that right of way that we have. But those are all things that we're going to need to take a look into and see, one, are they feasible, and two, if they are feasible, what is the cost of them? But that's definitely on the checklist.
And it would be, whenever it is, if we decided to go ahead and move forward with this, being zoned R2, that would be well known, right?
Yes,
It
we would make
it
sure
would
that
be known
anyone
that
who
it
is
not
looking to
zoned
purchase
commercial.
it. Yes.
But I mean, stepping back though, as part of the LDC, that could also happen in the course of the LDC rewrite. Because it's not a residential structure, so.
Yeah, any LDC rewrite could absolutely impact that.
And there's no inherent liability on selling a piece of property that has a sinkhole on it? It's a
So
pretty big one, I've seen it.
there is liability to everything you do and do not do. But the liability of the city owning it already currently exists. And from a liability risk perspective, if we did not own a property with a sinkhole, then our responsibility for anything that would happen with that sinkhole is lessened.
Mr. Mayor? Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall, I know you're busy looking for something, but if you think you can do both, are we, used to, we had that for storage and, you know, we used that pretty regular back in the day, coming in and out of equipment. Do we have anything over there now?
Yeah,
or-
we got some miscellaneous, I hate to call it junk, and
But-
stuff is just deteriorating in there. We don't use that building. I've talked to
Well, I'm
Public
talking
Works.
about the, around the, in the area here where things used to be
Yeah,
parked.
I talked to Public Works, and they're all set for the sale of this. If that's what you guys decide, they'll get it cleaned, our stuff cleaned up, and get whatever we need out of those buildings. But we don't use it for anything other than storage.
And then basically, we're gonna keep the rear access to,
Yes.
to access it and probably fence it off differently to keep the tower
A lot of that
protected.
would come off of your survey.
Okay.
I'm for looking into selling it. Absolutely.
No, I did have a question because you kind of sparked something. So you said this can be fixed in a else,
LDC.
yeah, rewrite. The reason why I asked that because I asked about the property that's not too far from there, and I thought that it couldn't be fixed during that process.
Get fixed in the LDC.
So what specifically I want to clarify what about it are we fixing? Are changing the zoning you're talking about? Changing the land use you're talking about?
So it's a property that's not too far from that. That's a business, but they're zoned residential.
Right.
And when I asked that question, because it's always been a commercial property, it was a post office before that.
Yep.
It has never been residential,
Right.
but on our map now it's residential. And when I asked about could we fix it, we were still saying that they would have to pay to get it fixed.
So just an update to the land development code is not going to change the zoning of a particular property. So the code itself, the changes that we're talking about going through, doesn't change the zoning of any of the properties that are located in the city. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it certainly, in that example, may be beneficial to the property owner for it to be zoned to commercial, change the zoning to commercial. But you can imagine a circumstance where someone is using something as commercial and it would be better suited as residential, and then it gets changed, and then it would not be a good situation. So the change to the code does not do that. Now, the change to the code can provide for, can assist us with aligning the LDC with our comp plan, which helps us with our future land uses, which allows for easier rezoning of properties that really need to be rezoned in a proper way. So that's what I mean when we can use the LDC rewrite to fix things. We're making the process easier and aligning our LDC with our comp plan and our future land use maps, and that provides for a much easier process for rezoning of parcels that really are kind of zoned something that it doesn't fit what they need to be.
Gotcha.
Also, to answer your question, we don't pay property taxes on it. It's a public building. So we're not paying property taxes on it.
Gotcha. I entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we look into, selling it.
Second.
All the steps that takes.
Citizen comments. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. New business item number 7, discuss, consider, and act on ordinance 2026-02.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2026-02, an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida, providing for an amendment to the Land Development Code to permit alternates on the Plan Board, amending Appendix B, Article 10, Part 10.02.00 of the Land Development Code, providing for the appointment of alternates on the Plan Board, establishing qualifications and terms of the alternate members, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. So this went before your Planning and Zoning Board, and they recommended denial. The provision that is being added, it's a many-page ordinance, but really the area to focus on is on that first page, 10.02.01, and then the first line of page 2 of the ordinance. And again, those changes are underlined. Essentially, what this ordinance change would provide is to provide for alternate members of the Planning and Zoning Board who would attend meetings but would only vote if there was an absence of one of the members. So right now you have a 5-member board. If you had 2 alternates, you would have 7 individuals who would be sitting up receiving information on any particular planning meeting. If there was a member who was not available, one of the standard voting members, one of the alternates would be able to vote in their place, such that you didn't have an even number of individuals and there's a split vote. Sometimes that does happen. And I think that that's sort of in broad strokes. I'm happy to answer any questions about it that anyone may have. But the alternates would only vote if one of the members was not available, and both alternates would not vote unless 2 members were not available and at the meeting.
We have a Plan Board member here. Would you like to speak to why you all denied it?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Rick Testa. Yeah, I'm one of the Planning Board members, but I'd be reluctant to speak for the Planning Board. I can only give you my perception of what transpired the other night. The first thing that I think you need to understand is when this came in front of the Planning Board, we read the ordinance and asked, where did it come from? It just materialized. We didn't ask for it. The Planning Board didn't. We didn't ask for members to to be there if there was a problem. The alternate members actually in the discussion.
One second. Can we answer that question? So where did this materialize from?
I can answer that because I requested
Okay.
it. And you remember, Commissioner Grunder, the individual was in here and we addressed him. I have yet to get a return call from that individual to see if he still wanted to be on it. So
Okay.
if that's where it came from.
Okay.
It was in here one night. We both addressed that individual here. I haven't got a response back from that individual.
And
the reason being I brought it up was just to get some more people involved and have them ready and kind of be aware of what's going on and to see, have another set of eyes and ears. That's all it was for, Mr. Testa.
I remember that very well, and I was in favor of it as well, because I think he had put in and somebody else had put in. And
Yeah.
before that, we had had an individual who was up for a board member spot for, I want to say, the last 5 times, and he finally just didn't put back in, and unfortunately, he hadn't been appointed yet, and I think we're losing out on some, if we can get more people involved, I think we should.
Well, again, Mr. Mayor, was this something that the commission, there was a motion made and a vote made, so it came to the Planning Board because a motion had been made
It
and had
was
been
not.
voted on by the commission? Or
I think
was
we
this
talked
just?
about maybe doing it, and then I don't think we ever made a motion.
No, I don't think we ever did. We just were discussing it and if somebody
Okay.
was in the audience that wanted to participate.
Okay.
and kind of get their feet wet in local government.
Then may I make a suggestion, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just for future, I mean, this sounds like a great idea. It sounds like, and actually, one of the planning board members had been an alternate in some other capacity at one time.
Yes, he had.
And voted for this. I believe the reason that it was unanimously rejected is because it just materialized. It wasn't something the commission had voted on and then presented it to the planning board, like, we are considering this, we made a motion, and we'd like for the planning board to see how
I believe that was what the whole purpose, how you got it, is because we were discussing it.
But-
It wasn't a demand.
No.
That's why y'all got it, just because we had a discussion
So
about
there
it. That was
wasn't a
it.
motion or a voting, there
No.
just came through a discussion, okay. So in the discussion that the planning board had the other night, again, I'm not gonna speak for the other members, but everybody had a comment about the need for something like this. It sounds good, it's a great idea, really, and we had a member that had been an alternate before. I don't know how much that's gonna impact Christie, as far as having more people, more paperwork, if it's gonna cost any more money, we don't know any of that information. You all would have to decide before you vote. But we didn't find that this would be something that would help the planning board. It would help the alternates if they just wanna get out and be involved and learn how the system works. But in the last 5 years, I believe, and the city attorney was there the other night, I believe in 5 years, there's only been one night where there wasn't a quorum. So as we discussed it amongst ourselves, we said, what's the need for this? What will it accomplish? And I think the reason that it was dismissed or voted against was because there really isn't a need for the planning board, but it would be nice for the alternates. So if there's no other question, that's just the way I saw it. And I did vote to reject this because, again, I'm aware there in in many, it's been quite a few years since there's been a quorum problem. Anything else from me?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question, and Mr. Test, I don't know if this really involves you or not. It might be for Kirsten, but I understood the goals and objectives when we discussed this. Would it be possible, because there have been times where plan board members have to leave the plan board for one reason or another, and then we have to backfill that seat. I've gone to a lot of plan board meetings, and they do a phenomenal job, so I appreciate them, and I think taking their input is pretty important, in my opinion. But is there a possibility that we could modify this such that an alternate would be somebody who would be appointed strictly as an alternate and could be waiting in the wings to backfill in the case we had a vacancy on the plan board? If somebody had to resign, would we be able to backfill it more quickly, and then we could open up the alternate position again and not have to be without a member in the interim? Does that make sense?
Yes, so that I can clarify, and the answer is yes either way. I'm just trying to make sure that I understand. Is the desire to have alternates that would, if there is a vacancy, not just
Right,
someone not
right.
available, if there's a vacancy, they would fill that seat until you fill it with someone, or they would
No.
fill that seat automatically?
Yeah, I would say that they would be the next person to fill that seat, and then we would fill the alternate position for somebody to wait in the wings in the case that was an issue again.
We could certainly do that, and so then you would want to remove the provision, for example, if there's 4 members of the planning board at one meeting, you wouldn't want an alternate to
Right.
be sitting up there or to
Right.
vote.
Because I think that becomes, to Mr. Testa's point, a little bit more laborious for Christie in terms of an administrative approach. That way she could focus on the board she had. I don't know if that's, and this is also an ordinance, so this is gonna cost money to advertise, right, Angela? We're gonna have to advertise this, gonna have to advertise it at first reading, second reading, just first? Okay. But I mean, in my opinion, I understand the goals and objectives from this side of it, but I also think it's pretty important to respect the wishes of the plan board as they sit now.
Well, I can't speak for Commissioner Grunner, but my goal was, as you just pointed out, to get people here, and then if somebody did vacate, they'd be kind of knowledgeable and can move into that role. That's the only reason why I was. It wasn't anything against the plan board. It was just trying to get people active and get involved.
I don't
That's
think
all.
the plan board took it as such.
No, we
but I
didn't.
will say this. I can understand even the denial, and it's just from my opinion, if we were as commissioners, if I missed a meeting, I wouldn't want an alternate to be speaking for me. You know, the planning board, I kind of hold y'all up to high respect because you all really do a lot of groundwork. You know, maybe, you know, the Parks and Recs board, you know, an alternate member could play a more vital role, but like the planning board, y'all are voting on some serious matters. So I wouldn't want somebody that just happened to come to the meeting today because Mr. Rick is not there to have to vote on the issue right on the spot.
Well, no, that alternate would be aware of what's going on and not vote for Mr. Testa, obviously, but just get more people involved in our government here and open more eyes. That's all it was. It was no.
So having alternates, but removing the voting rights, basically.
Right.
Is that how we do it on the other, how do we do it on the other boards?
Yeah, how do we do it on the Youth Mayor Council?
Well, doesn't the Park and Rec have an alternate?
I think they have, I think so, yeah.
I believe
That's
that
what
they
I
But
was
the Youth
kinda
Mayor,
thinking.
so the Youth Mayor Council is probably the most similar one because they actually sit up here. So how do they?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure the answer. I can look it up though.
No, I say we do it just to remove the voting rights until somebody vacates their seat.
Do we want there to be any kind of, and it doesn't matter what the answer is, attendance requirement such that we want our alternate members to be attending planning and zoning meetings, or we don't care one way or the other?
I think that if they don't have the ability to vote, it'd be pretty improper to require them to attend. I mean,
It's up to you
anybody
all.
can attend, by all means.
Sure.
but That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think mandating would be one thing, but if they do it on their own, it shows their efforts and, I mean.
Mr. Mayor, may I, before I sit down, may I make, just, again, I'm not judging anybody, there was no problem with this except just to let you all be, it would affect you the same way. If your paperwork shows up the night of the meeting and you look at it and somebody's saying they're going to do something and you need to pay attention to it or vote on it, and you're not aware of what the agenda was, where it came from, that was our biggest problem, is we had no idea where it came from. I had no idea it was a commissioner that got the ball rolling. So it was like this materialized, and the planning board didn't ask for it. It would affect you the same way. I think you all understand that if something comes in front of you and you have no idea where that information came from or how it was motivated, you'd have questions or concerns that it's being imposed on you. That was, thank you very much.
Thank you. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2026-02 with the provision that we remove voting rights unless and until there's a vacancy on the plan board.
A permanent vacancy, did we say that?
Yeah.
Permanent vacancy.
I'll second.
Any citizen comments? This is a roll call vote.
Whites,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bloodsworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell.
Yes.
All right, city attorney report and update.
I think you have heard plenty from me tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
City manager report and update.
I've got nothing.
All right, Commissioner Howell.
I spoke about it before. I want to bring up Local Voices United again for our citizens to make themselves more knowledgeable about what's going on with the Florida League of Cities and what's happened in the legislation and everything else. It also gives you the ability to be a voice and be heard in Tallahassee. So just sign up, get involved, and educate what's going on in the legislation.
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I had a couple of questions about impact fees. I talked to Kirsten about this a little bit, and Mr. Marshall. We updated a few impact fees. Commissioner Grunder, I don't remember, were you here when we voted on that?
I was.
It was general government, so we.
Yep. I was here when we did that.
But we didn't do water or wastewater.
Oh, I do not believe we did.
We
that one.
didn't. I got the ordinance. We did not do that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through this particular ordinance when we did those updates, and our water impact fee is currently $250. Our wastewater impact fee is $2,120. And just for comparison, we've heard Mr. New talk about Newberry's is $14,000.
Yeah.
So
We definitely need to up
that,
those.
I know that it costs money. We have to do a study. But, you know, with the growth that we know is coming, this could give us a potential to lessen the burden on the people that are overly burdened right now. If the new growth was, but then we're also very constricted in terms of how we can spend that. So Kirsten, I have a quick question for you. In terms of the use of monies from section 78387, payment of principal and interest, necessary reserve and costs of issuance under any bonds or other indebtedness issued by the city to provide funds to construct or acquire growth-impacted capital improvements to the sewer system. Could we use incoming impact fees on the wastewater side to help pay down our debt?
Only if the debt that we're paying down is debt that we incurred for the improvements that are related to the incoming development.
See, I see it all as one big picture there.
I know. I think most people would.
So all of these impact fees, and I talked to Mr. Marshall about this also, are supposed to be in their own pot of money. Interest-bearing accounts, own pot of money. So even if we're only collecting $21.20 per new impact fee for wastewater since whenever we set that rate, could that money, if I assume that there's money there, could that money be used to replenish the funds that we use to pay the $900,000 bill for the expansion for our direct purchase?
Just a minute, Dr. Kirsten.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Joe, and I think that the answer to this question is no, but we would have to show that the work that we did increased the capacity for a certain development. So you've got to show for impact fees that it's not just that we have new water needs and we've already reached our water needs, right? We expanded because we got to a certain percentage of our capacity, and so we needed to move forward. But we didn't, it's not tied to a specific development.
But it is. We promised capacity to Bridlewood. It's very much tied to them.
I think that would be something we would need a financial analysis, a study to show and to tie directly the funds, because Bridlewood is not the sole development that is going to benefit from the expansion, right? The expansion is going to service an innumerable number of future homes, developments, etc. And so we can't tie Bridlewood sought our capacity and has our capacity that exists. To create new capacity, Bridlewood does not need our new capacity. They had our existing capacity.
No, we promised them capacity with the expansion. I remember having that conversation.
I think that this is something that I can talk to Jeremy about, and we can go and figure out exactly what capacity they were promised. So from the prior where we were to after Bridlewood, because we would have to be very, very specific, because the thing that cities get sued on, probably the second or third most, is misuse of capacity impact fees. And so we have to be really, really, really careful, because the state has a stranglehold on how we use these. So we need to make sure that we're able to clearly tie any funds that we're spending from impact fees on an increase in capacity for a specific development, and we have to tie it to that development.
Can I piggyback on this question?
Yes, sir.
Because I asked about impact fees maybe about 2 months ago. And I thought impact fees, so it's only supposed to impact the area at which it's impacted. So 2 months ago, I asked about the Douglas neighborhood, And I talked about how their roads are horrible, but they've been getting a lot of new growth there. But they said that we could use those impact fees in another area. Cause like that area, although it looks better with the new homes, their roads are still very bad in that area. And when I asked about it before, they were saying that those impact fees, they could be utilized for other road projects.
They can be utilized. So if you think of like, this is your development, okay, and this is a line of new houses. There's a road that connects to this development, and then there are roads that connect to roads that connect, right? And so to say that the only impact from a development is on the roads that touch the houses, right, is a misnomer. But it doesn't mean that you can use it on any road in any area. You could use it on this road or a road that's adjacent, but you have to be able to tie it to an impact that development has made on that road. So one example is you may be familiar with a zip line that came into Newberry recently. And so the zip line park has a road that connects to it, and then there's a subsequent connector road. They anticipate X number of trips, right, on that road coming into the city. And so the city of Newberry was able to tie the anticipated trips to an increased capacity, right, to an increased need for road development, and then use impact fees for road projects in that area. So it's not just what's in here. You can use it outside of the development proper, but you have to be able to tie it to what has this development done that has increased the stress on infrastructure in X specific area. And you have to have traffic study or capacity study or something that proves and shows what this specific development has increased strain on as far as city infrastructure. So I know that that's very nebulous. It is incredibly fact specific and situation specific.
In terms of the transportation side of it, though, to Mr. Mayor's point, it's not, and what you said, it's not just the roads that are directly abutting. There are feeder roads in there. There's all kinds of different, well, I mean, when you talk about the Douglas community, you look at Railroad Avenue, and that's a feeder road. How could that not be an appropriate use of those funds?
And I'm not saying that it is or isn't in this specific situation. I'm saying that from a legal perspective, we would have to have an analysis that it is. We would need some kind of study, engineer analysis that shows us where this will come from. So, for instance, in the city of Newberry, they had an expert who helped them with their impact fee studies, who assisted them in saying, okay, this feeder road and that feeder road are going to take impact from this new development.
To answer your question?
So trying to use those funds to repair the roads next to the cemetery would not be allowed for
Right,
Douglas.
right.
There's no way to do
Right.
Yeah,
that.
so
Anything closer to that, you could find.
Yeah, so that's why I was asking the question, I think 2 months ago, because from Railroad Avenue, from around Lee's Preschool, from the circle of the trailer park, none of that has been developed. But they have had the most growth over the past 3 years.
I mean, yeah, right on Railroad.
So tagging on to that, same with the sewer line. If Douglas area needs new sewer line to provide, the impact fees that we already have can help replace that sewer line? Because that's infrastructure.
The impact fees of when that, so you're talking about the Douglas?
I'm just using that as an
That
example
area.
since we're talking
So
about that
you gotta
area.
You gotta remember, the impact fees are on new construction.
Right. So we've had new homes built out
So
there.
you have some new homes that were
So
built
that
up.
could be stressing our existing sewer line.
Okay.
So them impact fees can be to replace that sewer line down Railroad Avenue.
Correct.
Now, also, does that impact fee for that area need to be put in a lockbox for that area? So
metaphorical lockbox.
Yes,
Meaning it can only be
it
used for
can
that
only
area
be used for that
anything.
area for anything.
So is that what we're?
And
has
when
it-
I
so
say
it's been being doing in the past, it's been locked up just for that area? Like, say $500,000 came out of that area, it's gonna be only used for that area?
Should be.
And maybe 3 million, and I'm just using,
Sure. And under Florida law, yes. So that has to happen. And when I'm saying area, I'm meaning any, like we just talked about, there can be impacts that are more than just geographically in this 1 square mile that you can tie certain development to. So when I say area, I mean areas that are impacted by, right, it's impact fees, by the development. So, but yes, for each development, Bridalwood's impact fees can only go to Bridalwood caused infrastructure stress
if it's putting
projects.
a stress on the current sewer system, the
Because-
sewer lines, we can replace those sewer lines with those impact fees.
For that development is what you're saying. Yes.
Well, if that sewer line is coming out of there connecting to our main sewer line, I just want to make sure that main sewer line would be able to be replaced if it's not either big enough or too old to handle the volume.
No.
Because if you don't have, if you're going to connect to
I'm
an
just saying,
existing
she's saying
line,
no, that's pretty much.
if you're connecting to an existing sewer line to come out of Bridlewood, because we're not going to feed Bridlewood, we're going to pull sewer out of there.
Mm-hmm.
If the line it's going to connect to out here on 441 is old or brittle and it can't handle that volume, we have to replace that line.
Mm-hmm.
Those impact fees can help the main line go into the wastewater treatment plant. We can replace that with those funds.
Yes. If you're saying, and I want to summarize because I don't want to get it wrong. If you're saying, okay, Bridlewood is built, and then the line that comes from Bridlewood onto our main line is not big enough
Right.
to handle the capacity
Yes.
of what Bridlewood is going to provide, then that is a perfect example of an impact fee eligible situation. What you couldn't do is then say, okay, our entire sewer plant expansion is created by, in the event that it wasn't, that we didn't promise them capacity in the new plant. The thing that you couldn't do is say, okay, generally speaking now, because there's more sewer coming into our plant, now we have to increase our plant, and then it's going to
Right.
pay for that construction. But the line, that is a great example of something that you
Well,
could
that's
use it
just
for.
what I'm saying about the Douglas
Sure.
area. If that Railroad Avenue sewer line is not, and it's brittle, it can't handle all the new development, we should be able to use those infrastructures from those new homes to help repair that line. Bringing
Correct.
the
So-
volume out of there and shooting it to our wastewater treatment.
Right. If we're saying if Bridlewood hadn't come in, and I'm just using that as an example, if Bridlewood hadn't come in, this sewer line would be fine, and we wouldn't have to do any updates to it. Now we can't say like, oh, our sewer line was like basically completely destroyed anyway, and we knew that we needed to fix it, and now even if no one added on, and now we're going to use impact fees to
Yeah,
go
I get
ahead.
that. Yeah, I understand that.
But if it's just caused by that, then absolutely, that's an excellent example.
But okay, so what all can impact fees be used for? So we talked about water lines. Can they use for streets?
If it is an impact fee regarding streets, yes.
In that area. That's gonna put stress in that location.
Yes. Yes, your impact fees are specific on what you pass. So we were just talking about water and sewer impact fees, so that's why we're talking about those. But obviously, road impact fees, those are things that you would use for roadway infrastructure.
And so do we have a chart somewhere or a graph somewhere that shows us this is for this area?
Oh, geographical?
Yeah.
Mm.
Because
That I
if
know
they're in
of.
different pots, how do I know this pot goes to this area?
Right.
Yeah,
My-
that's what I was
We got a
asking, say
chart for
about the
that?
lockbox. Is $500,000 only gonna be allocated for, say, Douglas area, or $300,000, $2 million for Bridlewood area, and we can't pull that out for anything else but Bridlewood or Douglas area?
Right. We keep an accounting of our impact fees. So impact fees go into their own separate bucket, and then we have an accounting. $2 million associated with this development, $1 million associated with this development, et cetera. And so it's not that they're in their own separate bank accounts for each development. It's an account for our impact fees, all of them, and then we just have an accounting of how much of that is to be allocated for Bridalwood, for Douglas, for et cetera. Does that make sense? Okay.
And those should all be in interest-bearing accounts.
Yes.
So then, Mr. Marshall and I were looking at some of that stuff, and I said something to Mr. Marshall before the meeting. I would like to have permission to go with Mr. Marshall to the bank, because we're kind of in a precarious situation right now that we can't really get information from Springbrook because we're down some staff, but we should be able to go to the bank and see. I want to see where those, how are they labeled? How are we keeping track of that? We don't see any of that stuff. We see general roll-up budget numbers. So I'd like to have permission to go to the bank with Mr. Marshall and just sit and look through all of our accounts. Is that an appropriate thing for me to do, Kirsten? Is there any reason you think I should not?
If that is something that, so generally speaking, that is going to the bank is a little bit operational. If that's something that Jeremy is comfortable with, then, I mean, I'm not going to tell you that you can't go.
If we can look at that stuff together.
But yeah, to have the
that's
information,
fine.
you can certainly ask for the information, and I'm positive that the bank can give Jeremy or you and Jeremy a copy of how those funds are laid out.
Yeah. I mean, because we should have a fair bit of.
The bank should have that information,
Yeah.
for sure.
And we cannot use that for part of the expansion. We cannot use sewer impact fees for part of the expansion for the current plant.
Unless we can, and there are people whose job it is to do this analysis, right? There are experts who, that's all that they do is analyze where certain impacts are and where the stress is on public infrastructure. Generally speaking, the answer to your question is that is correct. If what I believe is we promised capacity and therefore we're at capacity and needed to expand, then there's no part of that we can use. Now, the answer is maybe if the reason that we expanded was because there wasn't capacity prior to expansion for that development.
We had to get our initial plant recertified to be able to take more. That's how up against it we were. So we did need to expand. Capacity was an issue.
Yeah.
You talking about for Bridalwood?
No, just in general. Just in general, in terms of building the second plant, we had recertified the original plant to be able to accept more. We had to go through DEP to do that. So we demonstrated we were already at capacity. We had to build that second tank. And that should apply to any new development, any new hookup, shouldn't it?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
I wish there was a better answer. It is incredibly fact specific, and again, and I am not that person, and an attorney is not that person, but there are experts who go in and do this analysis for you of this, this much capacity, and it's attributable to this, and this increase is attributable to that. I'm positive that I think Woodard and Curran has done that for some other municipalities that we represent. So it's a potential, it's a possibility. I just can't answer that question for you. I don't know that.
I'm just wondering, is it worth it for us to go through that impact fee study again for water, wastewater, if we're not even going to be able to use the money? It's a ridiculously low number, but if that's a way we can help alleviate some of the burden for the residents, then I don't know if it's worth it or not, if we can't really use it.
I think ultimately our new plan is already, capacity's up over 60%, I believe has been discussed before.
The second one?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, the
No?
second one's,
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was higher, but so with the growth that's coming, I think it's worth to get the impact fee study done.
Yeah.
And increase them simply because the growth is coming. We're gonna need to expand at some point, and then that money could be used then for that. So, yeah, I think it's definitely worth it. I mean, we're really off the.
what
really
percentage is the second one?
I thought it was higher. I misspoke. So I thought it was up around 60 before,
I
but
thought the number was we would be close to it if Bridlewood fully
Okay.
built out. Are
Yeah.
we close to
I
it
think
or
that's what it is.
at or,
Okay.
yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, because I remember when I asked about, what's it called when you shut it off? The word Mr. Rick always says when you try to.
Oh, where you stop discharging to the wastewater treatment plant and you go to septic?
Whatever it's called. But yeah, I when we had our other public works director, he said, yeah, at Bridlewood we would be at that state where you could stop it then.
Oh, gotcha.
You're talking about you're talking about the issuing permits and whatnot based on your availability to take in new waste, and that you could be able to put a stop on it for a
Once you
period
get
of
to,
time.
when you get to about 65%, that's when you start looking at building another plant. So when we get 65% of the second plant, we will work with engineers to start getting our third plant. When you start looking at it, and at 80% is when you really want to have it done. I think Commissioner Grunder's right. I think it's when Bridlewood is built out completely, you'll be close to that stage where you need to make a third plant.
Okay. I'm looking for however we can get more funds in from the new development coming in. Can we use those impact fees to get needed equipment for our departments to help with, with what kind of equipment they would need?
It would have to be a capacity building equipment. So if we needed, Kirsten jump in, but if we had a roads impact fees and we wanted to buy a new paver to pave the roads, that might be something that you could use impact fees because that road paver is gonna increase capacity on the roads by making new roads. But if we needed,
Would a vacuum truck fall in that line for fixing?
I tried it.
Oh, you
We tried it. It was. I should have said that in my manager's report. We tried it. It was too gray of an area. But as a side note, state budget wasn't passed. Yeah, we have a crane truck and a vacuum trailer that's in that, so we're hoping that passes through the budget.
Talking about your impact fee issue, if I can remember Mr. New when he was up here about the study, you gotta have 5 studies, and I think, did he say he had 3 that we could already use? We just needed to get 2 more studies done. Did any of y'all remember that?
That's your water and wastewater. Your water and your wastewater. To do your impact studies for that, we've called around to the people we have contracts. It's gonna run you between $15,000 to $20,000. Which, it's a lot of money, but when you think about
The
what you're
return.
gonna get back for it, again, our impact fees are really low.
How soon can an impact fee after a study be implemented? Immediately?
Well,
We would
you
have to
do-
vote on it.
That's
I
what
believe.
You do the
Danielle
study
said.
and then it would have to go by, it'd be an ordinance, right? Yeah, it'd be an
Yes.
ordinance. It'd be an ordinance, so you just go through the ordinance process.
So that would be a good investment for us to replenish our money pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Well, replenish certain monies,
Well, it would,
very, very
Yeah,
restricted,
yeah.
but yeah. Okay, that's all I had.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
at each one of y'all's places there, I have these papers here, if you're wondering what they were. I talked with Jeremy before, I reached out to James Moore and our auditor, and I've looked through some of this, and I just want to give this so y'all could have a little bit of looking into some of the debt that we have. It's been mentioned before, 14.7 mil, we've talked about that before. This is some of what that debt is involved. Now, this is a 2023 audit. I asked the gentleman at James Moore if he would kind of get into it a little more, but he's about to be done with the 2024 audit. So he kind of hated to want to get too much involved in this when 2024 is fixing to be completed. But I printed this out for you guys to look at, where you could see the wastewater treatment, where some of the money's been used that we're still paying on, the interest rate for those. I'm assuming, and I didn't go into detail with him because I'm kind of want to wait till the 2024, but on page 36, there in the middle, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this possibly could be the canoe outpost right here when it says city pledge property, because it's tourist. Where it
So
says,
this is the, real quickly, just reading this from what you're showing me, I think this is the loan that we took out against the canoe outpost that we were gonna do, upgrades and stuff to the canoe outpost. That 589, I think, is the amount that we took out.
but that was the money that past administrations took out to replenish Wild Places money, is that what that? So that's what that is, guys. I was thinking that's what it was, but, and then you can read over here on page 37, more long-term liabilities that we're still on the hook for. And then you look down on the table down there, how much money is going to be paid out for principal and interest throughout the coming years up to 2049. It's just something to think about when we get into the budget. And then the lease liabilities over here on page 38 of what city vehicles we have, that the amount of money we're paying for lease and interest. So just want to kind of give you guys some of that to think on. And then hopefully you got some plans for a budget workshop where we can dive into this a little more, where hopefully we can have a date before we leave here tonight, if you think you got anything or have time.
I won't have a date for you tonight for a budget workshop. I'm meeting with the chiefs next week about, with our meetings from Chief Theist and Chief Scott. We're not near a workshop yet.
Okay. So anyway, folks, 2024 will be out, hopefully, he said, around the end of April. So, huh?
Here's hoping.
Yep. So hopefully we'll have more detailed numbers, but take a look at that and see, keep that in your mind of what we're going to be dealing with. And as you can tell, some of the interest rates not very good in our favor. 4.5 is not a good rate, even way back then. I don't know if we can refinance. I don't know how those things work. And all these things you see were well before we were sitting up here, guys and ladies. So we're stuck with dealing with that right now.
Mr. Mayor, if I could comment on this that Mr. Vice Mayor had up here. It's looking like on the original bonds that we took out in 2004, so that's more than 20 years ago, we haven't gotten to a point where we're paying less in interest than we are in principal until last year. So for 20 years, we've been paying more interest than we have principal. So we finally just gotten to the point where we're paying more principal. But I mean, it's $740,000 a year. It's a huge amount of money to have to pay. And we don't pay it off until 2049.
And I'll add to it that it's really scary right now. Our totals are around 740,000, and from 2029 to 2033, it's going to be 3.7 million.
That's 741,000 still per year, though. That's a five-year
that's a-
range.
The 29
Yeah.
to 30, is that every year?
It works
That's the
out
total
to
for those 4 years
Right,
or 5
right.
years. So
Looks
you have
like
to break
it's-
them down.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that math before the meeting. It looks like about 741. It doesn't go down to $600,000 range until 2034. So it's just a stunning amount of money that we have to figure out how to pay.
I didn't break them down too much, folks, because I was kind of hoping we'd get to 2024 and we'll have, a little more up-to-date numbers. And I did ask the gentleman if he'd be able to come talk to us. And I had given that information to Jeremy. So if we want to get him to come, we'd kind of need to give him some time to, if we have specific areas to get him to look at. But all this is serious stuff here that we're all going to be dealing with. So I don't know if there's any particular line item to try to break down. None of it looks good. I don't understand what the thought process was of borrowing money to replace Wild Places money.
I was gonna ask about that. So
I just
if
don't understand that.
So how much of Wild Space money did they use? 589.
Well, that's what they borrowed here.
I think that's the
The
loan.
loan.
589.
Okay, so they went and got a loan to
Another U-Vault.
replenish Wild Space. So why isn't, if we sold the canoe outpost, if they already put the money back, did they put the money back?
No, the 589 is still sitting out there.
So what is that doing? What is the 589 doing?
It was used other places,
I think
right?
it was used.
It was spent other places.
So it wasn't even spent for the purpose?
I'm assuming.
In the loan documents for your loan for the canoe outpost, it doesn't pledge, it doesn't, very hard to explain. You got the loan documents, it doesn't say anything about the canoe outpost, other than that the commission, when they were in the meeting, said that they were gonna use it for wild spaces, but there's nothing in the loan documents that dictated that.
I remember.
So we don't even know what this money was used for, do we?
I mean, I could go back in history and look.
There's so much history here in just these 3 pages that doesn't make sense. And here we are up here today, dealing with this, trying to figure out a way to keep the city afloat and moving forward with this on our burden on us. There's no way any individual sitting up here in this room would run their house this way. You can't survive this way. And I get it, the people are upset at what we're trying to do. I don't know what they think we're supposed to do with this. How are we going to run departments in this city and function in the future and give other new future city commissioners a chance to survive and move the city forward? And the citizens that are listening out, and you guys, I don't know how y'all think we're being negative up here. You have to understand what's on this paper here, how serious this is. In order to keep things what we're going forward now with, it's going to have to, money's going to have to be paid. I don't know how we're going to move forward with these bills we have. So when I got this, guys, I saw this as like, I wish I hadn't have seen it, because it's been disturbing trying to go to sleep at night to know what we need to do. So anything, I appreciate. Thank you.
It's a hard task, but we can get it done. All right. I'm gonna think positive. That's about
Positive.
Now I did ask, were we able to look to see if we were able to lease the canoe outpost? I know selling it is crazy, but could we lease it?
I do not know the answer to that. I will know the answer to that at our next meeting.
Okay, because I think, that's a property that we could, kind of try to help out if we lease it and then move Parks and Recs to the Boy Scout hut. It makes more sense. They're right across the street from the main park in High Springs. So I think that's something that we should discover to see if leasing the canoe outpost is an option. Our employee of the week, I bet she doesn't know this, but Ashley. She's been keeping me on my toes.